Hello everyone, welcome back to CAMNES Studio. Before starting, I want to underline once again, if you have any questions related to archaeology, write us to ask@camnes.org. We will answer you on video if possible. Okay guys, so today we are going to focus on Indiana Jones, since, as we all know, the new and final chapter just came out, The Dial of Destiny. I think it's a good opportunity to try to understand what are the 10 main differences between Indy, the adventure profile, and a true archaeologist. Okay, are you ready? Let's dive in. Okay guys, before starting, I think it's fair to make a pitch for Indy, meaning that we are in the 40s. It's a Hollywood movie, but it's true that it's mainly, the main movies are taking place in the 40s, 30s, 40s, even though the last one in the 50s, 60s, if I don't go wrong. Meaning that archaeology is at the inception phase, but there are some steps where things completely changed, mainly in the 60s, 70s, I would say, with the new archaeology, and we'll do a video on this in the future. Nevertheless, there are some aspects, and we're going to take a look at 10, but we could go on, that just don't make sense, and I think it's fun and interesting and useful to go through them and see what are these and how they differ. Okay, let's start immediately with point number 1. Permits. Yes. Now, Indy just goes wherever he wants, digging whatever he wants, with who he wants, and clearly this is not the case. I mean, you need permits, even in the days back in time, to do anything, to go anywhere, to research and study some pieces also and publish the data. You need a permit, not only for excavation. So the whole process needs various permits. Okay, let's proceed. Point number 2, time span. When Indy gets to a place, the few times he is doing an excavation, because if you think about it, Indy rarely excavates, he just plunges in places, finding things, grabbing them and going away. That's also something unrealistic. But when he does excavate, the time span is completely crazy and absolutely not true. To do an excavation, even if it's a small sounding or something of small proportions, it takes a lot of time to do. You have to take time, your time, to record and understand what is happening. So, once again, it does not make sense. It is not real. Just going there, digging as fast as you can and go away after a few hours or days or things like that. Okay, it takes weeks, if not months. Let's proceed. Point number 3, data recording. This is something fundamental that we never see Indy do, but understandably, reasonably, it's a movie. You can't go in the annoying part of archaeology, we could say. What do I mean? Well, clearly, whenever you are doing any type of excavation, an investigation on soil, even just taking pictures and things like that, you have to record everything. Every different type of soil, the different inclusions, the different materials, even those clearly the ones that you are not interested in. Everything. And not only pictures, drawings, 3D reconstruction. I mean, there's so much. Even notes on the archaeological journal. It is fundamental to write down, to record every single part, because as we know, archaeology is destruction. Let's proceed. Point number 4, condition of the artifacts. Now, every time we see Indy going after something, even when in minor objects, usually the initial part of the movie or afterwards, and the main objective, the main goal, we're always looking at artifacts whole, complete, intact, and perfectly preserved. Once again, that is not the case. Very rarely you're going to find intact artifacts. And very rarely you're going to find intact structures or environments. I mean, usually everything collapsed, got broken, got corroded, got worn away from weathering, from just the soil, from a lot of reasons. So clearly it is, you can find artifacts in a good situation, in a good condition, and you can also find structures still standing up. Where is that taking place? Mainly, I would say, in tombs. So yes, every once in now and then, when we are lucky, you can find a tomb, perhaps still standing up, not collapsed, and hence you can find very well preserved materials. But that's very rare. That is not the norm. Okay, let's proceed. Point number 5, holes. That's something else that Indy does when he excavates. He just makes some holes in the ground looking for something, grabbing the stuff quickly. I mean, archaeology requires precision. Even if you're not doing an extensive excavation, but just a small little sounding, which usually is a prelude to the excavation itself, it's always going to be of square or rectangular shape, something regular that follows a grid, that follows some measurements, absolute measurements. Everything is perfectly calculated and located, positioned in space. So once again, you cannot just do a hole and go down, okay? Also, from a stratigraphic point of view, you always you decide where you want to excavate and you bring everything down. Things that are interesting and things that are not interesting. Whatever is inside the space you decided to excavate, which is usually a few meters or, once again, a small sounding, but it's going to be precise and it's going to follow that direction, not just a hole wherever you find something peeking out of the soil or whatever. Otherwise, you're a gravedigger. You're a looter, not an archaeologist. Let's proceed. Point number 6, stratigraphy. I also mentioned this in the prior points. This is something reasonably that is not ever mentioned in Indiana Jones. You should record, you should study, you should understand the different layers when you are doing an excavation. And Indy never does that. He just digs a hole and he goes right down wherever he needs to go. So obviously, this is the key concept of excavation. You have to record, you have to analyze all the different levels, even the ones on top, for which maybe you are not. It's not your primary goal. It's not your first interest, but that doesn't matter. You have to record everything and keep track of everything and analyze and study everything and report, publish everything. That is how you do a good work, a good job. Let's proceed. Point number 7, context. Now, Indy is always talking about museums, but he should also deliver, with simple words, I think, the concept of context, because an artifact without its context doesn't mean anything. It's doomed. It's gone. I did an entire video on context, why it's so important in archaeology. Take a look. You're also going to find a link in the video description. If you take an object away, even if it's fantastic, amazing, and something very rare, something very important, if you don't know where it comes from, you're losing 90% of the story. Okay? Enough said. Take a look at the video if you want to learn more. Let's proceed. Point number 8, knowledge. Now, in order to give you a cool impact of Indy, he seems to know everything, all the language, all the ancient languages, the ancient scripts, and cuneiform, hieroglyphics, everything. That is something else that is not the case in reality. Now, usually it's reversed. In reality, things are more complex. Now, in reality, instead, in this point, things are more simple. Actually, archaeologists, rarely know a lot about ancient languages. Just a little bit. It's very rare that somebody is a true expert, that he can decipher something just reading it, and also being an archaeologist, a true archaeologist. These are two professional aspects, different profiles who follow different journeys in their life. So it's also more serious, a little more, we could say, more credible, more believable if a person has a specialization in a specific field and not a little bit of everything. And if he does, that is good, but he's always going to have a main field of interest where he is an expert. Not both cases. Okay, let's proceed. Point number 9, field of interest. This can be connected to the prior point. You are rarely and almost never going to find an archaeologist, well, let's say rarely, who is specialized in completely different cultures, in completely different chronologies, okay? You usually specialized on something in a specific area, in a specific time span, and connected things can be part of your research. But if you are studying, I don't know, the Incas, and then you're going to study industrial archaeology in China, you're not going to be that reliable and scientifically sound, okay? Remember that. So that's also something that we see in Indy. He's an expert of everything, so nope. Okay, let's proceed. Point number 10, something that I have always hated in all movies of Indiana Jones, and I can't believe they do this. And I want to call this point vandalism. Yes, because Indy, in almost all his movies, he destroys stuff. Furniture, stone pavements, ancient artifacts, the lid or cover of tombs or parts of temples, just to go through, to go ahead, to get that final object. That is absolutely wrong and not true. Everything is important, and you would never destroy anything. I mean, that's the paramount first rule if you are in love, if you respect our ancient past and archaeology in general. Okay, guys? I think that's obvious, but I did want to put this as for the last point. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and remember, understanding the past explains the present and defines our future. Bye! Hi guys, if you want to discover more about archaeology and our ancient past from a different perspective, make sure to click on the CAMNES logo here below. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will never miss an episode and join the archaeological community in search of the truth.